This is a political cartoon from Dr. King's era. Does the narrative being pushed here sound familiar? Never forget how little the media's portrayal of your efforts has changed. In the end, they'll push the narrative regardless of how peaceful you are. Protesters throwing shit is the perfect bullshit distraction story, vague, doesn't require evidence, completely ignores the real issue, reinforces the worthless thug stereotype, blames the citizens as aggressors. The perfect distraction from the fact that riots are a symptom of a complete failure of the system and always an embarrassment for the leaders and nobody else. You wanna be the #1 country, yet you can't even prevent looting in your cities, because you fucked your own people so hard they don't give a shit anymore? Lamau, how bad do you have to be at your job leading a country, for this to happen? And the fact that now they're acting like those looters suck, why won't they stop looting? Looting is bad only highlights the utter incompetence and lack of leadership. They loot because the system is broken. It's your job to fix it. Exactly. This kid I work with said that Trump can't fix anything, and I was like, he can, but okay. Then I said, well, he can at least try to calm/unite people, hear them out, and not make it worse. And he said, yeah, but then the people who don't want that will be mad, like, oh? The racists will be mad. Why should I fucking care? Fucking preach. Are the social care, housing/educational, police departments in the states under state or federal control? In UK, the cops charged at the crowd with horses trying to force them to disperse. Once horse jolted and the Fed fell off. The protesters got the blame. It's very, very clear that even if protests were 100% peaceful, they would find something to discredit them. So if that's the game we have to play, I say free for all, let out your anger, tear down those monuments. History can't be curated by the system the way it was in the past, people will know what went down regardless. He didn't fall off, he collided with a traffic light, it was so beautiful. I rewatched it a few hundred times. Let's not start comparing UK police with US, mate. Why not? Police brutality is everywhere. I'll hold my hands up and admit I'm not great at maths. But just a question, don't those statistics only suggest that black people are the only ethnic group that are twice as likely to die in police custody in the UK than any other group based on their population percentage? The report even states above it that black people account for 8% of all deaths in police custody while only making up 3% of the population? And okay, it might not be on the same scale as the US, but all this says to me is that systemic racism is still very much an issue in the UK. This is a pretty good interview with George the Poet on BBC Newsnight, and where he discusses the parallels between what is happening in the US and in the UK. First, I must confess that over the last few years I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in the stride toward freedom is not the white citizens' counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace which is the absence of tension to a positive peace which is the presence of justice, who constantly says I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I can't agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically feels he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by the myth of time and who constantly advises the Negro to wait until a more convenient season. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., April 1963. Quoted from another sub about a franchise that is very much on the wrong side of history right now. Was discussing this sort of thing with my parents. All it takes is one perceived bad action by anyone during the protests, and that's all it takes for the media to pillory BLM as a whole and dismiss its aims. Meanwhile, the detractors have to have every single one of their stupid-ass arguments refuted again and again, or else they can still have toadies in the media paint the conflict as one with merit on both sides. It's the same thing as the white creationist movement and their intelligent design claptrap. The white nationalist establishment is always treated as the default truth. It's disgusting. Sounds very familiar. Unfortunately, constant protest and demands will succeed though. We won't let this narrative pass. People are on the streets, not only on Twitter and TV. Here in New York City they have witnessed in person pacific protest and respectful protesters from all over the place, no matter what age, skin color, race, nationality, status. It's been moving, and spreading hope of a fair society. The fact that he was, fucking murdered should be enough for even the dumbest white person to understand, but apparently not. Of course it's the same. They don't want change, they don't care. Hopefully, due to the size of these protests and the attention it is getting, as well as the younger generation being more active, America will change. What is interesting is that Dr. King's image has been co-opted by the mainstream to some extent while at the time he faced these kinds of messages. I wonder if decades from now George Floyd's name will be co-opted as well, even as a new generation keep fighting for their basic rights.